As the enemy used affliction against Israelites so they don't fulfill their calling to multiply, the devil will also use, I really feel like, these 5 B's to hold you back from winning souls and making disciples. We're not just called to hit the ball, we're called to hit a home run. We're not just called to do something, activity, we're called to be fruitful. The first B is bad experience. Some of you, the idea of discipling others, the idea of opening your life group one day, the idea of winning the lost has a bad taste for you. You're like, I tried it. I had a bad experience with some people and I no longer am interested in that. I have a bad experience. Who doesn't? I had a bad experience at the coffee shop. Every 2 weeks, I still go drink coffee. Some of you have seen bad experience of marriages. That shouldn't stop you from getting married. You've seen maybe bad experience of parenting. It shouldn't stop you from being a parent. Some of you have seen bad experience of drivers. You see how some of those drivers drive? None of you said, I'm giving up my license, renouncing my license. Why? I've seen bad drivers. You know, if Israel would have said, well, we had a bad experience multiplying, Pharaoh is killing us, they would have never birthed Moses. I remember one time when I did not want to do a calling or didn't feel motivated, the Lord said, if you let the bad experience stop you right now, you will never see your Moses, you will never see Exodus, you will never see Leviticus, you will never see Numbers, you will never see Deuteronomy, you will never see Joshua, you will never see Ruth, you will never see Boaz, you will never see Solomon, you will never see Samuel, you will never see Isaac, you will never see Isaiah, you will never see Jeremiah, you will never see Haggai, you will never see Mordecai, you will never see Esther, you will never see Mordecai. You will not see these guys because you let the bad experience stop you from going further in God. My friend, God is trying to birth a Moses. Don't let the bad experience stop you from birthing, stop you from going forward because you had a bad experience. Shake off your hands, shake off your feet and say, listen, I'm going to stand and I'm going to go after God, and no bad experience is going to take my destiny and take my calling from me. Is bad experience real? Oh yeah. But so is God's promise. So is my future. I still have the best future in front of me even if I had bad experiences behind me. Jesus did not wash off His hands from discipleship and say, well, sorry guys, Judas committed suicide, bad experience, so I'm closing discipleship down. No. He told them, go into all the world, make disciples. Judas was bad. Bad experience doesn't stop your best future. It's the first thing that the enemy will use is bad experience. Number 2 that the enemy will use is burnout. He will use burnout so that we don't move forward. Some people who don't want to do discipleship, don't want to do life groups, don't want to go to them, who don't want to pursue one day to disciple others, genuinely have just been burned out. Sometimes the burnout happens is because our sacrifice is not replenished with self-care. And then it leads us to self-medication and we just burn out. Sometimes burnout happens because negativity comes for dinner, but you gave it a room to stay for life. You just felt negative, and instead of shaking it off and reminding yourself of God's promises, you didn't just give negativity a dinner, you gave negativity a room. And it stayed, and from negativity you became just a negative person who now looks at everything positive through the lens of that negative experience that lingered too long. You let it stay. Sometimes we burn out because we really don't do what God called us to do, which is to love people. Instead, what we took on doing is changing people. And after a while, let's face it, most of us have a hard time changing ourselves. That's why we need the fruit of the Spirit to produce self-control. We can't even control self without the Holy Spirit. Imagine controlling the world. Imagine controlling your children, your husband, your wife. That is a full-time, without pay job. And that will burn you out faster than anything. So it wasn't that the calling burned you out. As you stepped into shoes of God. If you focus on loving people, God will do the growing and Holy Spirit will do the changing. Sometimes the bad experience, for some people, it's a burnout. The third B that I see that the enemy uses is the burdenness of life. It's when life just gets busy, when life gets burned out, we get burdened by responsibilities that we abandon our calling. And my friend, remember, when you stand before God, you're not going to boast about your FICO score. I'm pretty sure even on your funeral, your kids are not going to be saying, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of my dad. He spent every weekend at the office. Just couldn't be more proud of him. Those things won't matter. Don't let life burden you so much you become unfruitful in the things of God. Jesus warned us in Matthew 13. He says, a seed that falls in the ground that has thorns and thistles, it chokes it. Your life can be choked if you allow burdens to take the center place of your life. The fourth B is busyness. It's when you're too busy. And the last one is boredom. It's when you're not busy, you're just bored to death. And that's when the solution to all of these is, no matter if you feel burned out, if you had bad experience, you're burdened right now, and honestly your life may be busy or you're bored, begin to respond to God and say, Lord, what do you want me to do? Begin to move from believing to being discipled. Begin to move from trying to change yourself to trying to grow. And stop being afraid of discomfort and suffering that following Christ might produce. And honestly, stop hitting the ball. Hit a home run.